Hello, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful week of Facet Nation. We are your hosts. I am Lucinda.
And I'm Simon. Hi.
And today we were just saying we're back on much firmer ground. If you were with us last week, it was crystal structure, crystallography. It was tiring. We were tired, but today we are back and we are talking about one of my favorite families of gemstones. We're doing a deep dive on Beryl.
I mean, I wrote the notes for last week's episode and I didn't really even understand what I was saying. So hopefully it wasn't an absolute mess and some people got some useful information out of it. Fingers crossed they did.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. The issue with crystals and crystallography is, first of all, it's super, I wouldn't say definition heavy, but like really hard to explain, especially in an audio format.
Especially without visuals, yeah.
Yeah, let us know how you guys get on with it. And in the meantime, let's talk about something actually fun.
Beryl, yeah.
Beryl. And Beryl has a special place in your heart. Is that right, Simon? You've built kind of a world around Beryl.
Yeah, so we spoke a couple of episodes ago about Beryl having a wife named Baz.
No, Beryl is Baz's wife.
Yeah, that's...
My throat's gurgling.
Beryl having a husband called Baz. Baz's wife is Beryl. Yes, that's right.
Because Beryl's kind of an old lady's name, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but my friend Andy messaged on our Instagram today and said that his grandmother was or is called Beryl, to which I responded, and your grandfather was called Baz, fingers crossed, and he hasn't answered yet. So
I'm taking that as a no.
Yeah.
But we live in hope.
Not. Yeah.
All I know is Jake played this video game, which was called like Annam 1882. It's a world-building game, and he got completely bodied by an old Irish lady named Beryl, just obliterated.
Oh, really?
They knocked his civilization off the map.
Oh, shit.
So since then, I've really...
Beryl is ruthless. Well, you would be ruthless if Baz is fucking playing around with Miss Peridot.
Miss Peridot.
You've got to learn to know your worth and, get stuck in that world building.
Amen, sister. For the lore, guys, you can go back to episode 6, which is where Simon unpacks all of this for you.
Yeah, Beryl, Baz, and Miss Peridot.
What a wicked web he weaves.
Yeah. So getting into the business, Beryl isn't only Baz's wife, but also a gem species, which is responsible for the almighty emerald.
Exactly. Everybody's favorite of the big three, the other two being ruby and sapphire, which we have covered. But emerald is really its own beast. It is ruby and sapphire are both corundum. Emerald is just totally its own thing, even in the context of the Beryl family, I would say. What do you think, Simon?
Emerald, is that what you're saying? Emerald is its own beast.
Yeah, gossip about emeralds with me.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the emeralds are quite extraordinary. So they're definitely an outlier in this family of gemstones, and we're going to talk about that and why.
But there are, of course, other lovely members of the family you may be familiar with. So we're talking Aquamarines, Heliodors, Morganites. We'll talk about all of these in much greater detail later on. But as you may be getting the impression, lots of different colors of stones, which tells you one really important thing about Beryl in its pure form. And what's that, Simon?
Beryl in its pure form. So Beryl is allochromatic, which we discussed previously means it's coloured by non-essential trace elements. So Beryl in its pure form is colourless. And colourless Beryl is known as Goshenite, and it's composed... Yes, all right, we're going to mention that later on. You don't hear me fucking banging on about Blue John, even though I went there.
It looked amazing.
Yeah, it was quite fun, actually.
You did say, did they take all the best bits mined out, is it? Or
yeah, no, there's nothing left, basically.
It looked pretty decorative to me.
There was a lot of
like
slime
Blue
on the
John.
wall.
Yeah, what was that slime, do you think?
I don't know, like some sort of weird slime. He did tell us, but I've forgotten.
The crucial information you just totally missed.
Slime. He said slime, and then I couldn't think of anything else apart from slime. If you were interested in seeing what the slime looks like, we did actually post it on the Instagram. So
yes,
you can
head to our Instagram. Guys, follow us on Instagram at Fascination Gemology.
Fascination Gemology, and you can look at the slime.
We've taken kind of a two-prong approach where I post random shit and then Simon posts random shit. So it's definitely worth a follow.
It's not remotely cohesive in any way. There's two very different voices coming at it from different angles.
That's what makes it special.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, back to the
Back
matter
to
in hand.
Beryl.
Yeah, beryl in its pure form is colourless, and it's composed of beryllium aluminium silicate. That's where Baz comes in. Beryllium aluminium silicate, BAS, Baz. And that's referred to as Goshenite, which is from the USA. Yeah.
And then pick your color, basically, and you'll get a beryl in it. Emerald, of course, is green. Goshenite, colourless. Aquamarine, blue. We'll talk more about that and how it gets to be that color. Heliodor, yellow. Morganite, pink. Bixbite. I can't actually remember what color Bixbite is.
Red.
So is red beryl. Oh, of course, Bixbite or red beryl.
Yeah,
Got it.
Bixbite
Very
and red
rare,
beryl are the same
strange
thing.
stone.
Very, very rare. Yeah.
Definitely worth listening out for. And also Maxixe.
Maxixe.
Another really interesting stone. I mean, beryl, for what you'd think would be a pretty boring family, actually has a few of the like dark rangers of the gemology world.
Yeah, I mean, like talking about Maxixe, which I until this week I didn't know is how you pronounced it, is sort of a waste of time actually. But we're going to leave there. We're going to leave you hanging with that, and we'll
So stay tuned to the end, guys.
Stay
just like
tuned
tell
to
you
the
on
end, and we'll tell you what's interesting about Maxixe.
In the meantime, though, let's talk about geology.
Yes, because everybody loves talking about gemology. Go on then, talk about gemology. Geology.
Well, I said geology. So beryl crystals they're kind of long, they're kind of tall, and they generally form in pegmatite rock deposits. And what these basically are, I mean, Gemme wants you to describe them as coarse-grained, intrusive igneous rocks that form in late-stage cooling of magma. But basically what that means is they're big rocks, right? And they cool really slowly. And inside all of them is all of these really interesting elements. And as Simon says here, they're looking to party. So basically it means there's lots of shit going on in these rocks. It's all cooling really slowly. And everything has a long, luxurious, leisurely time to form big crystals in interesting colors with lots of really cool defining characteristics. It's kind of like going on a writer's retreat, I guess. Like it's just a nice, relaxed time to really create what you want to create, which in this case is beryls.
And beryl generally forms in this really nice, slow cooling, cozy atmosphere.
Yeah, which means you get really big, clean, gorgy crystals.
Yeah, which might lead you to wonder why, if this beryl environment is so pleasant and great, what's the deal with emerald? If these things growing really easy, then why is emerald so rare and valuable? Because you'd think in this environment where beryl grows, there'd be massive crystals of beautifully clean, bright green beryl that is emerald. And yeah, but
especially because if you're in the industry, the difference between an aquamarine, for example, and an emerald in terms of price is crazy,
like
or Heliodor or Morganite. And so what is going on if we're getting all of these other beryl crystals and they're cheap and they're abundant, but emerald is one of the big three? Simon.
Yeah, well, it's our old friend chromium again.
Yeah, the diva.
Chromium is a troublemaking bastard, and basically chromium causes problems but also causes greatness.
The most incredible green colors in the world, like luminous, beautiful greens.
And as we mentioned before in the corundum episode, it's also responsible for creating the red of ruby. Whilst it creates these amazing colors of these like the finest gemstones in the world in their pure form, it also fucks things up too.
Yeah, she don't play ball.
No. So it's like, it's like that kid at school who's like constantly pissing the teacher off and like winding everybody up. And then all of a sudden it comes to exam times and it's got fucking like 10 A stars or whatever. And you're like, what?
It didn't even try.
You're like, what? So yeah, it's like you can't argue with the results, but also the shit it causes is a problem.
Yeah. And basically chromium does not want to be enveloped in these beautiful pegmatites. It doesn't fucking care. It's not out there with the aquamarines and the heliodors. It only likes to be in metamorphic and hydrothermal deposits.
Yeah.
What is that? So, I obviously know. I'm just going to make Simon explain it.
So basically, emeralds don't occur in pegmatites. They occur in metamorphic and hydrothermal deposits, like you just said. and they require a process known as metasomatism in order to get the beryllium and the chromium to mingle. So we've got beryllium in one, we've got chromium in the other, and then we need to metasomatize in order to make them as one.
Hang out together.
Yeah, so basically pegmatites are felsic, which means they're silica-rich igneous rocks which do not contain chromium, which is why you're not going to get any of these green emeralds in the pegmatites. So to make emerald, we need to get the chromium involved. Yeah, and to do that, we need fluids. So we need the metasomatic fluids, which are beryllium-bearing, to infiltrate the chromium-bearing rock and then metasomatize all the ingredients, and then that forms emerald.
Okay, so basically we've got a bunch of rock which has chromium in it, and then we have a bunch of liquid that has beryllium in it, and the liquid gets really hot and the rock gets really hot, and this is starting to sound kind of wrong, and they kind of rub against each other, and that's where, in these kind of once in a lifetime scenarios, that's where you find emerald.
Yeah,
whereas like Aquamarine and
rare.
Heliodor and any old bitch, you know.
Well, Aquamarine and Heliodor need iron, and iron's fucking everywhere. And like, so it's knocking about all over the place. But chromium is like this elusive motherfucker that's only in certain things and only likes certain things and likes fucking shit up. So like, yeah, that sort of shit. Now, the thing about Colombian emeralds is that these beryllium fluids are moving into black shale, so specifically black shale. And black shale, in relative terms, now we're not talking like loads of chromium, but black shale actually in relative terms is quite rich in chromium. So it's a sedimentary rock and it forms really fine quality emeralds due to the richness of the chromium in this black shale. So that's why emeralds from Colombia are even more rare and valuable, because they're like really quite pure in their chromium.
It just looks so different from every other emerald. But we'll talk about emeralds, localities, inclusions in a little bit. It's time to go back to basics. We're talking about Beryl as a category, as a family, and these hoes are hexagonal, as we established in the last episode, the Thinking Man stones.
Thinking Man stone, yeah.
They have a very distinctive crystal habit. It is 6-sided, easy, count it. I like to actually count down the C-axis so you can count along it and then also like look at the shape that it's making. Makes it really easy. 6-sided prism, hexagonal bipyramid, and flat pinacoid terminations, top and bottom. And I really like Beryl crystals because they have very distinctive hexagonal. No, they have very distinctive etch pits, which are kind of rectangular and they go all up and down the long side of the crystal. So very easy to identify.
Yeah, you were right there. They do have hexagonal etch pits as well on the top and bottom, the pinacoid faces. So hexagonal on the top and bottom, and then rectangular on the 6 prism faces.
And if you see this, guys, draw it. They love it when you draw this stuff.
So they love it when you draw this, but actually this very rarely happens in nature. You don't really see these etch pits apparently so much. Like it's quite rare that the crystals actually resorb in this way and have these perfect etch pits. But for the purposes of drawing your crystal habit of emerald, you should be chucking in the rectangular etch pits on the prism faces and the hexagonal ones on the flat pinacoid top and bottom faces.
Yep. So that is what you were looking at. But what is it actually like? What is Beryl's personality? I would say they're pretty. Emerald is in a league of its own, so
totally
we can
separate.
set that one aside.
Yep.
Generally speaking, we're talking a Mohs hardness of 7.5, so respectable, but not something you're going to want for your engagement ring. Good stability, so that means that they've got like pretty good resistance to chemical light and heat alteration. Except again for emerald, so emerald is its own.
Yeah, literally, the chromium takes it from having normal beryl from having good stability. Emeralds have only fair stability.
Yeah. And toughness, again, same story. So most of your beryls are going to have good toughness. Emerald is brittle. She's a brittle bitch. So she's got poor stability. Again, it's down to the chromium. But also red beryl is also very brittle. So these kind of like the showstoppers, they're unstable.
Yeah, absolutely.
RIs, crucial. 1.56 to 1.60, and they're doubly refractive. So pretty distinctive. Like, you're not really going to get it mixed up with anything too much, do you think, Simon?
No. So when you're looking at them on the polariscope, they're going to have a nice light and dark 4 times through your 360-degree rotation. They're optically anisotropic, which is how you should be recording this information.
Yes. Birefringence 0.003 to 0.010. I feel like I should be on the shipping forecast with these. We should actually make a shipping forecast style episode where we just very soothingly read out the RI ratings of every species.
Let's actually do that.
Yeah, we should. Oh, we can call it. We'll come up with lots of cute names. I'm sure there's loads that we can do with this.
Yeah.
We should do it with the symmetries as well, the essential symmetries.
And the chemical compositions. Yeah, I'm game. The fascination shipping forecast.
Yeah, the facet forecast.
So Beryl has a specific gravity of 2.65 to 2.8. So if everything is equal proportion-wise, a 1 carat emerald will look bigger than a 1 carat diamond, which was the opposite case with corundum when we discussed that.
They're a bit more relaxed, these beryls, than the tightly wound corundum, and that's just the difference between a hexagonal and trigonal stone. It's not, but in my mind, that's their personalities. They've got a vitreous luster. Always a bit disappointing, when you see emerald with a vitreous luster, but that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Well, I thought we'd established that we can't actually tell the difference. We just figure out what it is and then write down what's in the book.
Yeah, but you kind of want, you want to hype up your faves, and when you have to write vitreous, that's sad.
Yeah, it's the really bright ones that you can see the difference in, and it does make a difference.
And they've got very imperfect basal cleavage, which basically means, is it a fracture? Maybe.
But yeah, you'll never know. They look the same.
But it's good to know that, right? If they look the same, how did they figure it out?
I assume it's down to the weakness of the bonds.
Yes, I agree. Seconded.
Good. Something interesting about beryl crystals is that they are cobbed before they are sold for rough. Now, cobbing is effectively chopping bits off it with a massive pair of scissors.
How big a scissors are we talking about here?
I don't know, like sort of. I don't think we're talking
like ribbon cutting scissors.
No, I don't think I think they're like that sort of size, but I think they're kind of like flat and spadey on the end. So like more for like chunking bits off. So like a big pair of pliers, really, I would have said.
So much of gemmology is just whacking things and seeing what happens.
Yeah, it's weird though, isn't it? It's like just lopping bits off it. But effectively, it's because they're generally sort of a bit
a shit bit,
fractured and cleaved or whatever. Then you just cut the shit bit off so that people don't go, oh well, that crystal's shit, I'm not buying that.
Do you know what stresses me out? And we'll talk about this in depth in a later episode, but the way that jade is bought is that people just get massive boulders of it and then cut a window in and just take a bet.
Absolutely fucking nuts as well.
So stressful.
And then just like chopping it in half and you might chop through the best bit. It's a totally potluck. It's fucking madness.
It's a good life lesson, which is you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, you literally like going, so, you can sort of understand why people are lopping shit-looking bits of beryl off to try and make their stuff look better. Well, it makes sense.
Don't be too precious,
Okay, so let's talk a bit more about emerald itself. Emerald
this is the big one, right? This is the daddy of the beryls.
The daddy of the beryls, 100%, yeah.
The mean, kind of angry, aloof, absent daddy.
Okay. Yeah.
But I love it because it's the birthstone for May. And as we've established, I'm a deeply sentimental person. So I wear lots of emeralds as necklaces, as God intended.
Your birthday is in May. That's what we're getting at here.
Yes, Simon. I would have thought. I actually don't even. What's your star sign?
That's rude. It was my birthday like a couple of weeks ago.
So. Sorry, I totally wiped that from my memory. I
was born in September. My birthday is corundum. We did a whole episode about that and I mentioned it, I'm pretty sure. Never mind.
Well, look, in a couple of weeks you can ask me what my birthday is and I won't be offended.
Okay, fine. Yeah, well, we'll actually do that on purpose.
Great. I look forward to it. So basically what we're getting at is emerald is different in lots of ways from its other beryl family members. And this is down to even the way that you're testing. They've got a tighter RI, so it's 1.57 to 1.6, and a much tighter birefringence, so 0.006 to 0.008. It's also brittle. It's a brittle bitch, very prone to chips and breakage. As a jeweler, your worst nightmare is selling somebody a massive, fucking expensive emerald engagement ring because it's a matter of time.
Particularly if you sell them a loose stone and then you've got to set it and you give it to a setter, and like we have a setter who I will not name, who is not clever with beryl material and keeps fucking chipping them. And it's been a bit of a problem. But
Well, we've had
won't say any
stuff
more
set.
about that.
Even sapphires we've had set, and we've sent them in, picked them up, and the back facets are like blown, like nothing I've ever seen. It's crazy how much damage setters can do.
Yeah, they're not doing it on purpose. Obviously, there's
No,
just
of course.
like sometimes
And
it's
also,
unavoidable.
Like, with stones, shit happens, right? And it
Yeah.
happens with emeralds more than other stones.
But if
This
you're used
cannot...
if you're used to setting diamond and you're sort of going in there sort of in the same fashion as you would set a diamond with an emerald, then you need to revise your method. You need to have a different method to setting an emerald than you do setting a diamond, because it's going to operate in a completely different way.
And that price per carat is so high. It's not like you can just replace it. So also, and Craig actually said, as a young jeweler, he would, before he got any kind of gemmology education, he would like chuck emeralds in the ultrasonic and stuff. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Just because, so emeralds are brittle. They're also very included. A little shake, a little high-pitched screech from the ultrasonic, and it could give up the ghost so easily, and they are so expensive.
Yeah, got to be super careful with them.
But part of this tetchiness has given us what my favorite, I think, stone cut in the world, which is the emerald cut. Tell us about it, Simon.
Yeah, so the emerald cut is literally named after emerald because it has less pointy bits. It's straight.
That's a technical term.
Yeah, exactly. Straight stepped facets, fewer points, fewer corners, fewer like facet edges to get chipped or knocked. Basically, we're chalking straight lines and trying to minimize damage. So we don't even have any corners on it. We've cut the corners off. They're octagonal shaped, 8-sided. Truncated corners to stop any potential damage. So you're not even putting your claw on a point because that's chaos.
Exactly. And the defining characteristic of emerald, of course, as opposed to all of its other beryls, is that it is green, and it is colored green by chromium. Aquamarine in its kind of pure form can be greenish. That green is caused by iron, amongst other things. There can be trace amounts of vanadium, though.
Yeah, so you can actually create green beryl with just vanadium. But in the United Kingdom, if you have a green beryl that is coloured solely by vanadium, it is not deemed an emerald. Yeah.
It's a kind of soupy shit green.
Americans, however, will still call vanadium beryl an emerald, which is not really cricket.
That's not very nice of us.
No. We would call it green beryl because we are very specific that our emerald should have chromium in it, which is probably fair.
I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. Fun varieties. Trapiche. I had actually never seen a trapiche or heard of a trapiche until I took the Gem course. Some people love them. Some people really hate them. I don't mind them, but I wouldn't wear one.
No, they're a bit... I don't particularly like them. So a trapiche emerald kind of looks like a wheel, like a bicycle wheel, and it consists of like a hexagonal crystal in the center, and then has a sort of disc shape coming round it with radial black inclusions forming like the spokes of the wheel, and then kind of wedges of emerald grown in between the spokes.
Yeah, very much its own thing, like very distinctive, impossible to get mixed up. Not super valuable.
No, not super valuable, not super attractive in my opinion. I don't think they're a bit shit.
I just can't imagine. They almost look like a novelty to me, like something your like goth cousin would wear.
It definitely is a bit sort of goth cousin material. Yes, yeah.
Well, speaking of inclusions, go on, Simon.
So I've noticed. I was listening back to one of our episodes. You've got a goth cousin and a punky cousin. I think you've mentioned your punky cousin before as well.
My true cousin.
Right.
I actually have lots of cousins, but I come from a like white trash family. Not everybody speaks to each other.
Do you have a punky one and a goth one?
I have a dreadlock cousin, and he is amazing. His name is Austin. He is so He's actually impossible to describe. He's a white man with dreadlocks who has a degree in aerial dance, but is an electrician.
What's aerial dance?
It's where you dance in the silks above. Because my boyfriend has a degree in contemporary dance, so.
Does he?
Yes, Jacob.
Bloody hell.
He went to like one of the most prestigious dance schools in the country.
Laban.
No, it was the place.
Well, okay.
Yeah. He can do a backflip and all of the ballet positions. But anyway, back to my cousin. So my cousin is like, whoa, dude. He can talk to anybody, but can beat any game. So I said to him, like offhand, oh, I'd love to learn to play Mahjong. 2 days, which takes years to learn. 2 days later, he comes to me. He's like, yo, Lucinda, I've been beating all these old ladies at Mahjong. Do you want to try and play? He's like the champion of Mahjong on the internet now. He's crazy.
Fuck?
I know. It's insane.
Okay.
It's insane. So he can make friends with anyone and beat any game you give him.
Brilliant stuff.
I know. He calls Jacob Cuz.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, that's my welcome to the Binford family.
Fantastic. Okay, yeah, nice little insight that is. Well, maybe we'll do that as a clip.
What are we talking about?
I think we were talking about emeralds, yeah. Let's talk about typical inclusions that you will find in an emerald.
And again, guys, I'm so sorry, but you need to memorize these, and you need to memorize them by locality. So we're going to give you like a couple of options, but just pick them and memorize them is what I would say. But there is one, Simon, that you think reigns supreme. One emerald inclusion that people should always say.
Mica.
Tell me more.
Basically, if you've got an emerald, say that it's got mica inclusions in it, and you're probably going to be right.
Amen.
Is from my experience, like they've all got fucking mica in them.
Well, they all have something in them. And this is a really important point about emeralds. When they have developed a marketing term for something, it's pretty consistent. So the jardin of the emerald's garden, that's just describing inclusions. And they are inclusions like you'd see in any other stone, but there's a shitload of them. And an internally clean emerald just doesn't exist. They're too brittle. So there's going to be something in there. So always say something. Mica, pyrite, as Simon says, very common fluid-filled feathers.
All the fractures.
Rhombs. Bamboo. I really like bamboo. Siberia does a good turn in bamboo, these Siberian emeralds.
Okay. Yeah.
I liked that because it's so incongruous. Bamboo in Siberia. You gotta find ways to memorize these things.
I see what you mean, actually. Yeah. Don't imagine there's a lot of bamboo in Siberia. There's not a lot of fucking anything in Siberia, is there?
Well, there's gulags.
And snow.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I'm sure at least a few separatist groups. Go on.
Yeah, okay. Right. Anyway, emerald localities. Obviously, the most famous one is Colombia.
Yes,
yeah.
And for very good reason. Like, I can visibly see the difference.
Yeah. And the difference that you're going to see is that really bluish green colour. So if you see a bluish green colour in an emerald, it's likely to be from Colombia. Now, Colombian emeralds have some fairly distinctive inclusions too. Not diagnostic nowadays, but a 3-phase inclusion, which we've mentioned before, is a decent indicator that that stone might be from the Muso mine in Colombia, which is, I mean, Colombian emeralds are like the best of the best, but Muso mine Colombian emeralds are the best of the best of the best. Yeah. And as we previously mentioned,
there's an influencer I follow who has a Muso emerald engagement ring, and I just worry about it every day.
Yeah.
I don't know this woman. I'm sure she's responsible, but her jeweler, like, someone have a word.
That is something to be worried about, I would have said, if you're wearing that every day.
I agree.
We've mentioned before what a 3-phase inclusion is, and you're going to remind us.
A 3-phase inclusion is basically, I don't want to sound trite, but it's an inclusion that has 3 phases, 3 phases of matter. So you have a solid, a liquid, and a gas. So usually it's a halite. A halite crystal, that's your solid. Then you've got your gas bubble, and that gas bubble is kind of bopping around inside of a fluid-filled jagged cavity They're easy to draw them. It's that jagged thing with like a little bubble in it. And also really key and easy to remember in terms of three-phase inclusion, Colombia, just know it because they're going to ask you something where that's going to be useful.
Yeah, always.
There's so many permutations of a question where that's the answer.
Yeah, you've got to know that three-phase inclusions are distinctive of Colombian emeralds. And then obviously you can also chuck in the mica because it's in all
Everything.
Emeralds. Always just say mica.
Calcite rhomb if you're feeling fancy.
Yeah, you can add that one in. Yeah, too. So one of the other main sources of emerald in the world at the minute, and is growing in prevalence and quality actually, is Zambia.
I don't mind a Zambian emerald, a little bit of iron in the mix. It's a little bit of a duller color, maybe, but still pretty beautiful.
I sort of feel like this might be one of those things whereby we've been convinced that we like these yellowish green emeralds because none of the bluish ones exist anymore, or they're much harder to come by. So someone's been like, oh, you do like that? You do? Oh, no, really, you do?
But I've looked, we were actually in Wards the other day looking at synthetics for some just samples that we have in the showroom, in the studio. And the Zambian synthetics were pretty nice. I actually think Zambians are a little bit more blue, like the Colombians to me are like the true luminous green. And then Zambians can have this kind of more mellow blue green. They're
a bit more sort of...
They don't scream as much. They're a little bit more subtle.
Yeah. They're not quite as... They're a bit cool. I don't know. That is what... Yeah.
Just switching beverages, don't worry.
But people do like Zambian emeralds, and they do look lovely.
And they're much more affordable. They're much more affordable.
They are, yeah. But you get some really, really exceptional quality Zambian emeralds. I think we've got a guy coming to see us in a week or so that specialises in Zambian emeralds. So I'll take some pictures when he comes in.
Yeah, definitely do.
And then other inclusions that you find in Zambian emeralds are mica. Yeah.
Hematite. I will say my fail-safe inclusion for emerald is limonite, actually, because it's in many localities.
I've only written it. It's in this one.
I know, but I remember my own. I actually did study this too, Simon, and I do my own research.
Right. We'll start saying limonite in all of them as well. That's fine. Yeah, no worries.
Do you know what we should actually do? Well, you can't because you wrote them out like an old man, but I can share my flashcards with everybody.
Crikey.
On quizlet.co.uk. Let me figure out how to do that. Give us a follow on Instagram and a like if you want us to share our...
That's very generous.
Well, they exist. What, are they just going to sit there unused for centuries?
Yeah, they're not being used.
The rest of human history.
Yeah. Next locality, India.
Yes, yellowish green.
Yep.
More vanadium, some iron. That's what Simon says.
Yeah, and this is the one that tends to have two-phase inclusions. Yeah.
Do you want me to describe what that is?
I think we can probably work it out.
Good. Okay, great. But also my favorite, and this was one that I liked to remember for this, is the comma-shaped cavities.
Yeah, I think that's quite cool, actually.
Yeah, very cool. And very specifically Indian emerald.
Yes, comma-shaped cavities, two-phase inclusions, mica.
And these really in-depth inclusion versus locality, I would say do this for emerald, do it for ruby, do it for sapphire.
Yeah, you've legit got to know this because this does actually come up in loads of past papers. So
other than that, you're probably okay. You might want to look at peridot because it's got some pretty specific ones.
Yeah. Another locality, Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Mix of yellowish and bluish green. A little minty.
I've actually written a minty biscuit.
I know, I wasn't going to say that because I didn't know what that meant, so it's not coming out of my mouth.
Have you not heard that bloke that phones up that radio show and says that his wife likes a minty biscuit and he's talking about a Viscount? Sorry, this is British humour.
I have no idea what any of those words mean.
You should listen to the bloke that phones up the radio show and says that his wife likes a minty biscuit. It's very funny.
Okay, I'll Google it.
Inclusions.
Look, here we are again. Inclusions, limonite. What did I tell you?
You're right, yeah.
And I like to remember this one because the word for lemon in Portuguese is actually limão. It's lime.
Yes,
so limonite.
I see. Okay. So Actually, I've put a little note here that limonite tells you that there's iron present. So you are probably not going to see limonite in your Colombian stones because there's much less iron involved there. But I think you will probably find it in most of the others because there's definitely a bit of iron getting involved in most of the other localities.
Yep. And in Brazil, you've also got pyrite. I actually really liked remembering carnival, like a little flash, a little shimmer, chromite, and calcite.
Perfect. And then a special mention to Panjshir emeralds. They come from Afghanistan, and actually Panjshir emeralds are a bit more similar to Colombian. So you're going to have a bit less iron. You're going to have these bluey green material. I suppose you don't see loads of Panjshir emeralds on the market because there was probably a bit of dubiousness surrounding Afghanistan.
There's some human rights issues. We have got a lot of older white men requesting it, though.
But that's probably why we call them Panjshir emeralds rather than Afghani emeralds because
marketing.
They're really nice quality and they have micro inclusions just like all the rest of them.
So as Simon says here, just say mica and move on.
Yeah.
That should be part of our merch.
Just say mica and move on. I love it.
We should get those What Would Jesus Do? Just say mica and move on bracelets.
Yeah. No, that's good. Just say mica and move on. Brilliant.
Speaking of moving on, we are testing an emerald. What are we looking for, Simon?
So we're looking for the RI range of between 1.56 and 1.6 with a birefringence of 0.006 and 0.008.
And of course, we're looking to dichrostone, so we're looking for blue-green and yellow-green on the dichroscope. Usually pretty moderate to pronounced, I would say. You're not going to miss it.
Yeah, you should be able to see the differences there as you're flicking your dichroscope across.
Spectrum, very specific.
Yeah. So you're going to see weak general absorption across the yellow-green and a fine line in the red. In the course notes it says there's a weak line in the blue, but I'm like, I don't know about you. I can very rarely see any lines in the blue. So if it's weak, then good luck to you.
No, I'm always just looking for the general absorption in the yellow-green.
Yeah.
That's what is telling, and it's a green stone. I'll work it out from there. UV and CCF, this can actually be a really fun one. The Chelsea color filter was actually developed specifically to detect whether an emerald was real. It's not conclusive, real, synthetic, or natural. It's not conclusive anymore, but you're going to be looking at a pink to red under both. Always really fun responses to get, I think. And if the chromium is strong enough and the iron is low enough, you're going to get some really exciting UV fluorescence. And iron, as we know, is going to be a quencher and stop that. So not every emerald is going to react as you want it to. If you get that crazy red response, you may be looking at something synthetic. But always, I really like testing synthetic emeralds with the UV and CC.
Yeah, and it's the dawn of synthetic emeralds that prevented the Chelsea colour filter from basically doing its job anymore, because you used to look at stones through the Chelsea colour filter, which basically only allows green and red light through. And if it looked red through the Chelsea colour filter, you could basically say it was an emerald because all of its simulants would look green. But now one of its main simulants is a synthetic emerald, and that's full of chromium and is going to look even redder than natural ones.
They're so fun to test. They just go crazy. But we will talk about that later. First, let's talk about treatments. And emerald is a really interesting one. In the same way that corundum is, I think this disappoints people, but it really shouldn't. So in the same way that 90% of all corundum is heat treated, essentially every emerald you come across is going to be oiled unless it's a very special stone.
It'd have to be very, very, very special. Like you like they're all oiled in some way. I would have said anything that you've seen. And that would be either with cedarwood oil or even baby oil in some instances. In more severe cases, they are fracture filled with a polymer resin, which is known as opticon.
Which Americans don't mind so much. The English tend to like less permanent treatments because, as Simon says, oiling it's literally oil. Like, it's baby oil. You get it hot enough and it will leak out. All of these methods are used to improve the appearance and the clarity of emerald, which is a very fractured material, a very included material. Oiling them kind of smooths out these surfaces and makes it less apparent, but it's not permanent if it's oil. So it can leak out when they get too hot. If you put it in the ultrasonic, it'll all come out. And then it also can turn brown over time, which is where this like newfangled opticon becomes really interesting, because that is a permanent solution that also has an RI that is designed to match emerald. So it can actually be very hard to identify, but it's completely permanent. So once you've done that, your stone is like always going to be quote unquote treated, right?
It was really fascinating, I thought, when we were at the conference last year and they showed us a picture of an emerald, and it was the same emerald, one that had been oiled and one that had had the oil taken out of it, and just how drastically different the stone looked when it didn't have its oil in it anymore. So yeah, it makes a big difference to how the stone appears, because you really have no idea how fractured these stones are when they've been oiled or filled with resin. But most of them are, because it's so brittle.
Yeah. And that, again, it's kind of personal choice in the same way that it's, synthetic versus natural, treated versus untreated. If you've got big money and you want something that's going to be like quote unquote an investment, no oil is amazing. If you love emeralds and you want something that you're going to wear and love every day, and you're not looking at it thinking, God, I can see the oil turning in this, like, go for it. Go for heavy oil. Do it. Because detection is actually pretty difficult, especially for people who aren't gemologists, don't have microscopes. But we are gemologists. We do have microscopes. So what are we looking for?
So you basically want to look out for gaps where the oil hasn't completely filled the fracture. If you get your top light reflecting off the surfaces, you may even see the fractures reaching the surface. On odd occasions, you can even see like specks of oil on the flat faces.
So wild to me. It's just like leaking out.
Yeah, no, but it does. So you can like actually see like, and you're like, oh, what's that on my stone? You wipe it off, and actually it's a bit of the oil that's seeped out. And then the color flash as well. So if you've got these fillers in the fractures, light behaves differently when it comes into contact with the fillers, and it might cause a blue or a yellow color flash, and that will be due to the filler.
And like many stones, emerald is occasionally dyed with colored resin, so always make sure that you're looking at fractures, looking to see if there's any concentrations in dye, if there's any disparity between the color that you're seeing and the color of the stone surrounding it. That's just always check. These people are up to no good, y'all.
Concentrations of dye under the flat lamp. Yeah, keep an eye out for that. Get all your stones on a flat lamp and just have a look, just in case they've been.
It's always worth a glance. Always
diffused or dyed or things like that. It's definitely worth double checking that.
Yep. And as Simon mentioned, we are actually doing pretty hot for synthetic emeralds. They're pretty good these days. And what's interesting about synthetic emeralds is it would be too suspicious if they were perfectly eye clean. So kind of the best of them can mimic inclusions that you'd see in a natural emerald, which is so wild. First is, there's two main methods, basically. And you can actually get, as I discovered, you can get synthetics that mirror the emerald that you're looking for. So if you want a Colombian, if you want a Zambian, if you want a Brazilian, there will be different mixes and different stones to try and mimic the exact locality that you're looking for, which is wild.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Head to Wars, ask them that you want a synthetic Colombian.
Really?
Yeah, it's very cool.
Interesting.
Well, but that's the beauty of synthetics, right? Is that you can make that feed mix whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I suppose you can. Yeah, that makes sense.
So flux melt is our first synthetic method.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before with corundum. What do we?
So when we were talking about flux melt synthetics, I think mentioned the word snotty a few times.
We did.
And that's what you're looking out for. You're looking for flux feathers. You're looking for snotty opaque flux feathers, often referred to as twisted veils. So literally looking like a veil floating away in the wind. They'll be white.
Ghostly.
White, opaque, translucent, wispy, those sorts of things. In flux melt emeralds, you might even see little platelets of platinum, which come from the crucible in which the process takes place.
Or even in our diploma stone set, we had was there a big chunk of platinum in there? Did I imagine that? Okay, never mind. So basically, with synthetic emeralds, especially if you're doing the Gem diploma, there's kind of two things that you need to remember. One is flux melt, twisted veils. The other is hydrothermal heat haze. We'll touch on that in a second. Also really useful to note, especially if you're struggling to recognize what's real, what's synthetic, you can actually test this in an emerald. So flux melt synthetic emeralds have a smaller birefringence than their natural counterparts. So it should be 0.003.
Yeah, that's
which
actually really
is
useful.
so useful. If you're really doubting yourself, that's one thing that you can always check. Next up, my personal favorite method of synthetic emerald production, because it mirrors so closely how natural emeralds form, actually, is the hydrothermal method. Simon, tell me about it.
Yeah, so hydrothermal emeralds are going to be cleaner than your flux melt versions, and they're going to be sort of quite suspiciously clean. So that's probably the first thing you want to think about. You'll be like, this emerald looks very fine quality. So you might want to get it under some decent magnification. And what you're looking out for is zigzag or chevron-like growth structure. And when you see these zigzags or this like hazy zigzags, hazy chevrons, this is known as heat haze and is a byproduct of the method. So if you see heat haze, then you know you've got a hydrothermal. And you get yourself familiar with what this looks like, because once you see it, you know.
Exactly. It's just another one of those things where it's like you automatically know where you're standing with it. And it takes synthetic emeralds from something that's really scary to something that is actually like one of your safety stones, because you know exactly what you're looking at.
Yep.
And it's so easy to identify once you see it.
100%. You're looking for like that sort of like hazy, when like it's on a hot day, you see that sort of hazy, wavy lines. It kind of literally looks like that. Another thing that you can look out for in hydrothermal emeralds is nailhead spicules. Now, obviously, synthetic stones don't show natural inclusions, meaning any foreign material, but any beryllium, aluminium, silicate can have phenakite in it, because phenakite is beryllium silica. So basically, phenakite forms in areas where there's a lower concentration of aluminium. And as the crystal grows in this hydrothermal process, these tiny crystals can leave a sort of elongated cavity behind them. So the phenakite crystal will be like the nail head, and the elongated cavity, which sort of grows in its, like forms in its wake, is the nail. So you'd see like it forms like a little nail inside the stone. We refer to these as nail head spicules.
And you will, again, you'll start to recognize them. And if all else fails, we've also got a very distinctive birefringence here. So it's 0.05, means you're looking at a hydrothermal emerald.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before with the corundum or the ruby, if you look at these stones, you have suspicions about them, and they have particularly strong response to CCF and UV, i.e.
Or they have a perfect spectrum, or like all of these red flags.
Yeah, so if you're seeing evidence of like really pure chromium, i.e. bright red fluorescence, bright red under the CCF, then you really need to start being quite suspicious, because it's really rare to find that in natural.
Yeah. And obviously simulants do exist. We'll cover it properly in its whole own episode. We'll probably also do a standalone episode on emeralds with all the lore and etc. But the ones to be aware of, I think crackle dyed quartz is the one that takes most people by surprise. It is literally quartz that is heat shocked and then dyed. Put it on a flat lamp, you'll see it immediately, but from far away they can be incredibly convincing.
Yeah, really simple. Most of these simulants you can bung on a flat lamp, and you're going to notice, because the other one's a Sude doublet, which is basically two sections of colourless material, probably like a colourless spinel or rock crystal, which is glued together along the girdle by a coloured green glue.
Which shouldn't work, but it does.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like the green glue sort of like makes the whole thing look green. I don't really understand.
And so these you just tilt on their side, like all of the composites. Tilt them on their side. They'll tell you what, they'll sing for their supper.
Yeah, but curiously, the girdle looks white, doesn't it, when you do that?
Yeah, so it looks colourless.
So it's kind of like, I don't understand why that's the case.
It's a bit of a mindfuck. We'll get into it in Light and Optics, don't worry.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so that covers off emerald. What is the next most important variety?
Well, Aquamarine, which is my beautiful boyfriend Jake's birthstone. He's a March baby. Shout out to all the Marches.
Yeah.
And this actually gets its name. So Aquamarine means seawater. This was not originally a light blue stone, as it's kind of become known today
Okay.
in its
Okay.
current iteration, which is everything has been mined out, everything's being heat treated. Initially, this was kind of a blue-green stone. When you heat treat it, it becomes this kind of washed out, kind of pale baby blue,
Yeah.
which lots of people like. I think it's very deco. It's like it can be in silver, it can be in gold. It's a versatile stone. And it's iron is the cause of this color. It's probably this, I would say, the second most famous of the beryls.
I would agree. Yeah. The crystal habit for these is pretty similar. It's pretty standard for beryl, to be honest. It's a well-formed hexagonal prism with striations parallel to the C-axis, so going along the length of the crystal.
And so you're going based on color alone, basically. So once you've identified it's a beryl, you need to determine what color it is, and that will tell you what you should be writing down, basically. I think we have been in a couple sticky wickets with that, where we've had like a super washed out Morganite, and
Yeah.
everybody put Goshenite, but actually
Yeah.
it was pink.
I was really pissed off about that, actually.
I remember.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll confront Craig next week.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, we'll ask him.
Questions will be answered.
It's something that you will probably find with aquamarine is that most of it's going to have no inclusions if it's of decent sort of gem quality and is in rings. So as much as there are some inclusions that you find in aquamarine, for example, rain, which we've discussed before, which is hollow growth tubes that run parallel to the C-axis in groups, giving the appearance of rain, which is a diagnostic inclusion for aquamarine. You probably won't actually see it in any
very rare
gem material because, yeah, they're going to facet and the cleaner stuff.
And your aquamarine should be clean. Like, it should be unusual if you're looking at an aqua and it's got problems. What you may find is that more expensive aquamarines will be this kind of Santa Maria blue, this more saturated blue.
Which is
like
an
a
amazing
powder
colour.
blue. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
You did touch on it just a minute ago that most aquamarine is heat treated. So mostly the rough of aquamarine appears this sort of like not very nice sort of murky greenish colour. And then by heat,
I like it.
I quite like it actually as well. Yeah, it's kind of got that sort of minty tourmaline look to it, hasn't it? Which is quite all the rage at the minute. Yeah. But basically, if you heat it up, then you alter the valency state of those positive cations, meow, if you remember that from a previous episode, and increase the Fe2+, which enhances the blue colour.
Major localities, we are looking at Brazil. I think this is a locality where kind of when in doubt, Brazil's a good one to go for. There's a lot happening there, especially with quartzes and beryls. Very fine deep blue colors. This is where the Santa Maria mines are, which is in Minas Gerais. Its full name is Santa Maria de Itabira. I'm so sorry to my friend Maria, who is Brazilian. I'll do better next time.
I'm glad you did that.
As we say, this is the famous material, right? So if you are looking for like a big, quote unquote, big name Burmese ruby equivalent for an aquamarine, it's going to be a Santa Maria aquamarine. I think these are mined out.
Yeah, you don't get them anymore. I saw some Santa Maria colour stones the other day, and they were pretty much from Mozambique.
Yeah, which is our second big locality. Majority of the world's finest aquamarines are coming from here now. You can get some, I mean, the thing about aqua is when it's lovely, it's lovely. I think it works best in step cuts. Those kind of clean, really clean lines seem to work with this kind of color blue. Other localities you'll be looking for are Nigeria, Madagascar, and Zambia.
Yeah, perfect. There's a
favorite key test of the course, I would say.
This is your favourite key test.
It's so good.
Yeah, it is good. So basically, aquamarines look like blue topaz. And there are a variety of different. So, like a London blue topaz is a bit more like a Santa Maria aqua.
But they're much more expensive. So it's crucial that you don't get them mixed up.
Aquamarine is much more expensive. So, considering this is your favourite test, tell us how we do it.
So basically, you take your CCF, right? And you line up your stones and you look at each one under the CCF. Blue topaz is going to appear a kind of yellowish pink. So once upon a time, it was like, quote unquote, flesh colored. It's kind of like, yeah, it's like a kind of yellowy pink. But aquamarine is going to be blue-green. And so I like this for a couple of different reasons. First, super clear. it is super clear. Once you've seen both responses, you're not going to get them mixed up. But it's also really easy to remember which is which, because aqua, which has water in the name, is going to appear watercolored. So good. And also very impressive
very good.
for people who aren't gemologists.
Yeah. So if you've got like a pale blue, sky blue stone, something like that, CCF it, and it's more or less only going to be an aqua or a blue topaz. Might be a spinel. You might want to, but yeah.
Spinel doesn't really come in those light. I guess you can't. I've not seen it on the market like that, though.
No, the chances are it's going to be one of them, and you can pretty much eliminate one from the other by doing this CCF test.
Yeah, I've actually got a beautiful aqua in the studio. We're doing a really cool cocktail ring, and we have blue topaz. So I will film this, and when this episode goes live, I will put it up on Instagram. So follow us.
Very good. The other variety, as in the other end of the aquamarine, is Heliodor. So that's basically the yellow one. So where you heat treat your rough greenish aqua to create aquamarine, you could irradiate that crystal to increase the Fe2 plus ions, and that would then promote the yellow color, and it would become yellow. The likelihood is you're not going to do that because nobody really wants yellow beryl as it stands.
There's so many better yellows, cheaper stones.
And irradiating stuff is a pain in the ass as well.
Yeah. And as you note here, the color can fade in sunlight, so it's a pointless exercise anyway.
Yeah, so you're basically paying more money to create a stone that's less desirable, whereas you could just heat it and make a stone that is more desirable and cost less.
Yeah, I tend to rely on RI for something like Heliodor. Easy to remember the name, though, because obviously it's yellow. Helios is the god of the sun, so it does connect in that nice way. Same localities and inclusions as Aquamarine. I mean, once you're past Emerald, yeah, they're all singing the same hymn sheet. Morganite, probably my least favorite, but it's growing on me massively.
Pink stones are a thing, aren't they? People are sort of into that, so maybe it's going to have a bit of a resurgence. Morganite is pinkish, purplish pink, and it's coloured by manganese.
Mm-hmm.
Morganite is named after the famous banker J.P. Morgan.
'Tis indeed. He was a very enthusiastic hobbyist and sponsor of the gemmology industry, which I guess is how you get something named after you.
Yeah, pretty much. So he sort of commissioned a guy called George Frederick Kunz, who was a gemologist who worked for Tiffany to source and collect gems on his behalf. And Kunz named this variety of beryl after J.P. Morgan.
But then he got his own back, so don't worry, guys. We'll talk about kunzite when we talk about spodumene.
Yeah, which is also pretty much the same colour.
I disagree. I think Morganite is much paler.
Yes, fair, similar.
Yes. And also the key difference, I think, between kunzite and Morganite is that Morganite can actually be set and kunzite goes. That's the sound of a stone dying, if that wasn't cleared.
Got it. Okay, I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah. Speaking of stones dying, I think one of the most interesting, definitely one of the most dramatic, we thought Emerald lived for the drama. Have you met Bixbite? Because she bad.
Bixbite is a mad shit. Basically, it's coloured by
it's
manganese.
So giving tulip bubble, Netherlands, people buying. Do you know about the tulip bubble?
No.
So like in the Renaissance in Holland, people got obsessed with tulips and they were spending crazy amounts of money. It's like Beanie Babies. They were spending crazy amounts of money on tulips. And then suddenly everyone was like, why have we spent all this money on tulips? And then the bubble burst and everyone was financially ruined.
Got it. Okay, fine. What's that got to do with Bixbite?
Because I feel like Bixbite is, you can't wear it because it's too fragile. You can't fasten it. You can't fashion it. All you can do is put it in a cabinet and look at it. And the only reason people like it is because it's rare and someone decided that they want to pay a lot of money for it.
Well, do you remember that day when we saw the one in Gemma's collection and it was like in a bloody like foam bloody isolation cell? I daren't go anywhere near it.
Please don't open this.
No, don't. I didn't want to touch it. It was like it's in its own little foam chamber.
I mean, there are things like Sure. It's I think it's interesting for gemologists and for scientists, for private collectors who are buying this shit before it's even mined, just so they can say that they have something no one else does. Like, get to fuck.
Yeah, so Bixbite basically comes from the Wawa Mountains in Utah, which I find nice to say.
We love naming shit, let me tell you that.
Yeah, and it is 1,000 times more expensive than gold. And
which
we
is
all
really
know,
saying something these days.
Well, fucking no kidding. Like gold has just reached another
Insane.
new
It's insane.
high today. And apparently one red beryl crystal is said to be found for every 150,000 diamond crystals. So that's pretty fucking rare.
Although saying that, we all know that manufactured rarities behind diamond. But
Yep, we won't go into that because
we'll talk about the Namibian beaches soon, because that is in my brain. That is laser engraved in my brain.
Destined to ruin the industry working. Well done.
Possibly the best named stone in the world is our last variety. No, we've got two more.
Yeah,
Goshenite.
We'll just mention Goshenite, which we have actually already mentioned, which is colourless and from Goshen, Massachusetts.
American.
Obviously, yeah, it's where all the best stuff comes from.
And then this weird one. I think at one point we were doing mock tests, and the issue with all of my mocks leading up to the practical, especially in our diploma, is that I would do them while I was doing TV or like doing something else. And so at some point I wrote Maxixe intending to go back and fix it, and then didn't, and handed it in, and Craig just did one of his sad faces next to it.
Why? What?
Because it was so wrong. Like, whatever I had done, I had so misunderstood the question. Because I was watching, like, Gilmore Girls or some shit.
Of course, taking it very seriously.
Then I ended up doing really well on my theory, so take that, Craig.
Well, you know, if it works for you, it works for you. So what's a Maxixe beryl?
Well, apparently, this is what you've said. It is a deep violetish blue, but the really interesting thing, they're Brazilian, aren't they? The interesting thing about them is, so they've got this incredible color, but the color fades in sunlight, but also you lock it in a box and it still fades. So it's this beautiful violet blue until it's mined. And then no matter what you do with the stone, the color goes. If that's not an allegory or a sign, like, that says something about our culture today.
Yeah, what a waste.
It is so, but it's not a waste. It's the most interesting thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
What is happening, Simon?
What's the science behind that?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to do a whole episode on it, and I'm going to interview, like, the Maxixe man.
The Maxixe.
We're going to go to Maxixe. We're going to figure out where that is. We think it's Brazil. And we're going to see it for ourselves. This is going to be in a while. So everybody #monetize Facet Nation.
Okay, yeah. If you can start a GoFundMe for us trying to actually dig up a Maxixe beryl and actually see what color it actually is and take a photo of it, then yeah.
And also, like, what's the goss? We'll sit and we will watch it lose its color. Yeah.
Watch it fade and die.
And that, if that's not, you know, a symbol, I don't know what is.
Yeah. But basically, in reality, you're not going to see one of these because, yeah, well, you're not going to see it being the color it's supposed to be.
Unless you go fund us to go find one.
Yeah. Hang on, what was the other slogan?
#monetize Facet Nation.
No, the other one that we said about maybe you said you were going to make a bracelet.
Sorry, I have to look back at my notes. Just say Micah and move on?
Just say Micah and move on. Yeah, that's it.
Guys, let us know what you want for your merch.
Go find me to go find me. Maxixe. Okay, yeah, cool.
As we've got big things planned, so keep an eye out.
But yeah, well, basically that's Beryl done.
And guys, we are going to do deep dives into all of these, of course. So let us know what your favorite is. What's the one that you're most curious about? And let's not leave Goshenite out of it. I think that we could go to Goshen.
Okay.
You know, the podcast is, we could do this for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Just wait until we get to Spod, you mean?
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from.
We're going to find out. We're going to go there.
We'll tell everyone.
So, guys, can we just, well, Simon, why don't you wrap it up? Because the last thing that you wrote was, that's a wrap.
I think you've just done it, haven't you?
Do you have anyone that you want to thank or any news or shout outs?
I mean, it's probably best to thank Rob as we do every episode because, he fixes a lot of shit for us. So
Yes.
Thanks again, Rob. And exciting news, we're going to have Craig.
Yes. So Craig
on
is
the pod.
Our tutor. You've heard his name, the man, the myth, the legend. We are going to be talking to him next week. It's going to be a little bit of a different episode because it's going to be more about Gem A, what the course entails, how to succeed there, and what he's noticed over his time as a tutor, his tips and tricks, and also just insight into the world of a working jeweler and gemologist, really. So stay tuned for that. Thank you to Rob. Thank you to everybody listening. We appreciate you. We love you. Hashtag monetize Facet Nation, and we'll see you next week.
Just say micro and move on. See you, bye.
Bye.